Hi, welcome back. And today we're doing r/wedding shaming. And this is my first time on this subreddit. And I actually have a wedding, from my wedding, a story, but I'll save that for a time when I have a few more subscribers. So let's go ahead and get started. So guys, hear me out. I want to do a Handmaid's Tale wedding. Already I'm cringing. All my bridesmaids will be handmaids. I'll wear the green wedding dress. Groomsmen will all be dressed like drivers and watchers. My hubby will be dressed like Commander Lawrence. Food will be prepared by dressed Marthas. The flower girl will be my mini Hannah. I'm the one that posted the look alike of my kid and Hannah. What other cool things could I add? Oh my goodness. Okay, so. I'm cringing. Okay, so I don't know if this woman went ahead with this idea for her wedding. Oh my God. And I don't know if you've ever watched this show. I've watched this show. I don't even really like dystopian stories as a general rule. They're just not my cup of tea. They really aren't. But I actually kind of got into this one with The Handmaid's Tale. It had something that grabbed me and just really, I think it was the characters, to be quite honest, because this story is dark, and gritty, and oh my goodness, so if you don't know what The Handmaid's Tale is about, or what she's referring to here, it's a dystopian story. I'm guessing it could be taking place right now, basically. It's kind of the gist of the story. Reproductive rates are extremely low. There are very few fertile women. A lot of women are just not fertile for... I don't know that it actually ever goes into detail, to be quite honest. Ow, that hurt. And the United States, over a period of time, has developed laws that make it illegal for women to hold a job, to have abortions. Hey, they've already done that part. Maybe we're headed toward Handmaid's Tale. Oh God, I hope not. But at any rate, what has happened is that the fertile women, if you are of the age to be fertile, able to bear a child, you become a handmaid. I guess the leaders, the people that created this world, they're all the commanders and their wives. Their wives don't even get to read. They don't get to make any decisions, really. They're just kind of there. The commander's wives are just kind of there. Still look pretty, I guess. I don't really know. They don't really ever go into that, what the wife's job is, I guess. And even then, the commanders can be removed from their post, and how they're removed from their post is that they killed them in cold blood. It's very ruthless. And Everybody's extremely paranoid all the time. Oh my goodness. The handmaids wear red to signify what their job is, I guess. And they are covered from head to toe, like they have to wear a bonnet, and that's red. Their hair is covered by a white bonnet, like their hair has to be like completely covered. Now they can show their face, but that's in like this part right here, but everything else is covered by a red dress that goes all the way down to their feet. It's extremely a repressive society. The wives, as she points out here, they wear green to signify their position in society. Always green. The Marthas, if I remember correctly, they wear brown. It's been a very long time since I've seen this show. They've not come out with a new season this past year, so maybe they're done. I don't think so though, because they didn't wrap up this last season like it was going to be the last. So I highly doubt it's the last. The drivers and the watchers, they wear black. Hannah is the main character. Oh goodness, I'm forgotten her name. I'm gonna kick myself. I'm gonna remember it later. Anyway, she's the main character's daughter, and she was taken away at the beginning of the story and given to another because that's what happened to all the kids. Like, all the kids were taken away from their parents because they were not raising them correctly or whatever, and given away to the good parents of like Commander Lawrence and his wife and whatever. So, and they changed their names. Hannah's new name is actually Agnes. So, but she remembers her old name, like, because, she was definitely old enough to, I think she was like 3 or 4 or something like that. So she definitely remembers her name. And I don't know why I'm going on such a long rant about this, except that this is the most terrible idea, because the point of the story is that these handmaids are then picked by the wives. They're picked by the wives for their husbands, because these wives are barren. They cannot produce children for their husbands in general. Because they believe that the women are barren for reasons. They never actually believe that they don't, for whatever reason, it can't be the men's fault, right? It can't be the men's fault. It's the women's fault. It's the women's fault that they're barren. It can't be the men's fault. Even though we know that, it's not always a woman's fault that she cannot get pregnant. Sometimes it's a man's fault. So, but in this society, it's always a woman's fault. If you can't get pregnant, it's definitely your fault. So at any rate, their justification for doing this is biblical. And I hate saying that because I'm a Christian. And I hate when people try to justify things by using the Bible. Yeah. So this is just killing me. Because oh God, yeah. I forget exactly what scripture they use, but it is when after God promises Abram that he's going to give him a son and that he will now be the father of many nations, Abram's like, well, extremely old. He's like over 100. I don't see how you're going to do this with Sarah, my wife, who's also like nearly 100 years old. This can't possibly happen. And Sarah's like, well, hey, how about you take my handmaid, whatever her name is, Hagar, I believe. I think it was Hagar. And how about you get her pregnant? So she hands over her handmaid, Hagar. And Abram takes Hagar. And I don't think it goes into the specifics in the Bible exactly how it happens, but he basically gets her pregnant. And again, Hagar gives birth to a son. And that's how all that happens. Now, in this in this show, it's so much more diabolical. But yeah, no, for a wedding, this is I think you're just sending so many more signals than you want to send if you do this. So I don't think this is a good idea, and I am so sorry for this rant, but for people who are not familiar with this story, yeah, I think it needed to be said. Okay, so we got a picture of a wedding here, and the bride is over here on the right. I've labeled her. And I think that this other person who is also wearing a white dress that appears to be a wedding dress is her mother. Or the mother-in-law. Have we not learned, apparently we haven't, that not only are you not supposed to wear white to a wedding, you're definitely not supposed to wear a wedding dress to a wedding. I mean, it's just tacky. It is really just tacky. And I don't know, is it just me, or does that dress not even seem to fit this person over here between the two men right? I don't know. All right. So we have a post. Cousin tries to self-invite her family to my wedding and request their foods, and then her kids be in the wedding. That sounds fun already. Let's get into it. Shaming my cousin for my upcoming wedding. I'm getting married in October. Initially, we were concerned with guest lists and being able to invite our whole families. I get that. Between both of our families, we were at 125 people already. That's a lot of people. My mom had told my aunts and uncles that cousins may not all be invited, and definitely no kids of our cousins will be invited. Maybe because it's a lot of kids, or it's just be way too many people, I guess. Or maybe they want a child-free wedding. I mean, I get that. I don't know. Q last weekend, one of my cousins who I haven't seen or really talked to in over 5 years, probably for good reason, I guess, messages me to ask when my wedding day is so that they can block off work because they want to use my wedding to kick off a vacation week for their kids and need to begin planning so that they can save money. She also says that if I can invite one of her sisters who she's estranged from, I need to make sure that they are seated across from the room as far as possible from her, preferably out of the line of sight. But I really should consider not inviting her sister anyway because she has mental health issues and PTSD. So will probably be just a waste of money by no showing at the last minute or taking her food and eating it in the hotel room anyway. She then goes on to say she would love her kids to be the flower girls and ring bearers and already has perfect outfits in mind for them. And my fiance and me will be having our nieces and nephews fill those roles. So those roles are already filled. Also, her kids want chicken tenders, pasta with butter, cheese fries, and pepperoni pizza with root beer for dinner, and chocolate soft served ice cream with rainbow sprinkles for dessert. So make sure I order from that for them. Guys, the entitlement. I was going to invite her and her husband anyway, but she said all that before even knowing if she was invited. Oh my goodness. I told her the date, but said we weren't sure of our guest list yet with family because of cost. And we do invite cousins that, if we do invite the cousins, their kids aren't allowed. Now I'm tempted to delay her save the date a week or two so she sees her sisters get it first. She will also be sitting with her entire family in estranged sister and all per my seating charts. She also doesn't like her sister because she feels her parents are wasting her possible inheritance money on paying for her sister's therapist and treatment programs. My aunts and uncles are quite well off. And I will be making it clear, no kids. This is a child-free wedding. Okay, I thought so. With the exception of our immediate nieces and nephews. If she tries to bring kids, they'll not be allowed in. But seriously, I'm still in awe at the entitlement to assume she's invited and the list of demands. Okay, so I wouldn't even invite her in the first place if she's doing that. Being all like that. Yeah, no, I wouldn't invite her to begin with. I'd be like, oh, no, are you going to be like that? Then you can forget coming. I don't need all that. Name. But seriously, I've been married for 15 years. I did the wedding thing. Girls, y'all, we love the wedding thing. We do. We dream about it our entire lives. We want this gorgeous day to remember our special day, the day that we wed our husbands. And, you know, we want it to be perfect and we want everything to go right. Y'all, when I tell you that if I could go back to that day, if I can get some views on this, I will tell you about my wedding day and why, if I could go back, my husband and I would just elope and not go through doing the whole wedding thing. We would save the money and put it on a down payment to a house. Yeah, no. Wedding for us was just not worth it. Was not worth it. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. I love looking back at the pictures. Don't get me wrong. Love it. I could get those pictures another way. Could have a nice little party to celebrate with my family and my friends that came, because it was a very small wedding. Very small. Like, literally, I think we had less than 20 people. Like, literally. Would not do it again. All right. I'm a maid of honor in my friend's wedding. She goes by her middle name, which is Rachel. My first name is Rachel. I'm honestly unsure how to answer. Like, ma'am, I'm not changing my name for your wedding. Okay, okay. All right. So we've been friends forever, right? Good. I just have one request for you as my maid of honor. Change your name, please. There can only be one Rachel on my big day? Lady, why don't you go by your first name? I mean, what does it matter that your bridesmaid has your name? There's a ton of Rachels. I mean, there could be a Rachel in your guests that show up. I mean, is she gonna have to change her name too? Lady, No, you are too entitled. All right, got a long one here. So, my mother-in-law brought her daughter, my sister-in-law, the exact same bridal gown as me, the bride, to wear to the wedding. And the sister-in-law's husband was going to wear the same outfit as the groom. My mother-in-law said that my sister-in-law has dreamt her whole life since she was a little girl of dressing as a traditional bride to her brother's wedding? That doesn't make any sense. What? For some reason, she couldn't get this itch out of her own, out at her own 2 prior weddings, where she wore inappropriate gowns but rather wanted to dress identically to the bride and groom? How did she dress inappropriately at her previous 2 weddings? I kind of need to know this. I need some background on this. When I informed my mother-in-law that this is a bad omen in my culture, she replies that I was a selfish princess for wanting to be the only person wearing a bridal gown on my wedding day. When I expressed concerns that people wouldn't know who the actual bride and groom are, she said that that's my problem to dress by buying more jewelry to stand out. She went on to make comments about how I was Meghan Markle stealing her prince away from her, and that my sister-in-law suffers mental abuse issues. And that if my sister-in-law suffers mental abuse issues again, it will all be my fault for disallowing her dream to come true. My husband ran away on our wedding night to sleep with his mom and dad and moved out of the house 2 weeks later. He says his sister is the reason for the divorce. The whole family is oddly enmeshed. Girl. Oh my goodness, if you're not actually married to this man anymore, you dodged a bullet. This mother-in-law sounds absolutely insane. And see, that's what some people don't get when they get married, is that you're not actually just marrying your husband or your wife. You are marrying the entire family. And you actually have to deal with some stuff sometimes. And it's not always pleasant. All right. Got another post here. Wedding guests put all their effort for the day into trashing wedding. Oh my goodness. A few years ago, a friend and I went together to a wedding of some mutual friends. Both invited decided to be each other's plus ones. We'll call them Donna and Dave. They were absolutely lovely people and a lovely couple, and proof you don't need a lot of money to put together a great wedding. They went to so much effort and worked incredibly hard on it. When they arrived, about half the guests were in jeans, t-shirts, tank tops, and what I can only describe as grotty dresses. I don't know what that means. The invitation said cocktail, and while I don't think the bride and groom expected people in Armani, it doesn't cost a lot to make an effort and look nice and presentable. Agreed, it doesn't. Like, just put on a nice dress, some khakis and a polo shirt. I mean, that might not be cocktail, but it's definitely nicer than what these guys are wearing. What the heck were they thinking? Tank tops? Oh. And I need to know what she means by grotty dresses. Like, what's that even mean? When the bride turned up, her bridesmaids abandoned her and ran to the front and started flirting with the groomsmen. She was just left standing there after exiting the car. Myself and another woman hot-footed it over there and primed her for her walk. When the officiant did the traditional objection question. Some guy decided to leap up and object, thinking it was hilarious to tell everyone about how he'd always wanted the bride. That's not funny. That's definitely not funny. He stood there laughing at his own jerk until a person sitting near him basically manhandled him back into his seat. The reception was to take place in the back room at a nearby pub. It was, I thought, a clever way of doing things because guests could head there and wait in the main area and have a drink while waiting for the bride and groom and reception to start. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a drinker, but because we had a dry wedding, but I mean, if you want people to drink at your wedding, yeah, that's not a bad idea. The invitation had made this clear, and that those drinks were at the guest's own cost. Smart. A group of guests started shouting at the bar staff about having to pay for their drinks. Another few guests ended up offering to pay for their drinks just to avoid a major issue. Another group of guests got trashed in the 30 to 40 minutes that we waited. I can't say that I'm surprised, actually. A woman and I stuck our heads into the reception room and discovered it had been ransacked. In 30 to 40 minutes, it had already been ransacked? But, was nobody watching the door? Did nobody see who went in there? Someone had made off with gifts and even some of the glassware, plates, and decorations via an open back door. Did nobody check that? Why? What is with the lackadaisical security? I'm so confused. Where the bride and groom were to enter, we notified the staff. Where was this staff? Who were then frantically trying to fix things with the help of some guests. Oh my gosh. Then the gift thief, a guest, came back for another round. An older guy, probably in his 70s, was so fed up he crash-tackled the guy to the floor, and then a couple of people dragged him to the manager's office to call the police. Donna and Dave arrived shortly after this, and all of us in the know stood there with insane plastered smiles like, nothing to see here, all's good. I definitely would have done that too. Oh my goodness. The situation got resolved somehow. The police got rid of the douche canoe, got the gifts back. Oh good, the gifts got brought back. And a couple of guests brought them back in the venue as though they'd just been sorted somewhere else. The reception was, again, really well done for a tight budget. So many of the guests got drunk, were rowdy beyond acceptable, and behaved belligerently. Two of them, people in their late 20s, started a food fight. Luckily, security threw them out. Oh, so there was security there. What was he doing while this douche canoe was stealing the presents? Oh my gosh. The sensible guests spent most of the night running interference. There shouldn't need to be interference during a wedding. Oh my gosh. At one point, I helped a bridesmaid to the toilet to vomit because she had otherwise thought under the table was a good spot. You shouldn't have to be doing this during a wedding. This is why I had a dry wedding. I'm sorry. I had a bad... Again, I think I said this in another video. If you've actually watched any of my videos. I had a bad childhood, bad upbringing, and a lot of that was due to alcohol. Not with me. Just people around me, and I just never really wanted that for myself. So I have literally only had one full drink of alcohol in my life, and that was on the day that I turned 40. So I've never been drunk. I don't know what it feels like. Don't want to know what it feels like. And so this kind of mess is just not my scene. I don't want it to be my scene. So, yeah, this is just too much for me. My friend had a guy he was helping wee on himself and then try to kiss him. So when you just send them home. Just send them home. It was a rough pub, so thankfully the staff were pretty used to dealing with this stuff. How do you get used to this? Like, I could never get used to it. They were unbelievably tolerant and helpful. Yeah, no, definitely unbelievably tolerant. At the end of the evening, and many of us were really struggling and determined to stay to support Donna and Dave, we went to see them off. And someone had vomited all over their car. A couple of kind older ladies got supplies from the pub and cleaned it off while the rest of us stood around trying to laugh and joke with the bride and the groom. Did they not see? A few of us went back to the venue before leaving and discovered that the bride's parents, who had agreed to pay any extra on-the-day costs as their wedding gift, had nicked off, had left. They'd left. Oh my God. We split it, including some of the cost of the missing glass and tableware. There was a brief moment when those of us remaining were thinking about having a final drink in the bar. Then it was like, no. Let's all go home and never speak of this again. We were covered in grot. I'm guessing that's just mess. One guy had cake all down his suit trousers. Donna sent us the loveliest thank you notes. They had, despite everything, had a wonderful day, which was such a relief. Yes. Like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I think I've said everything I need to say about this. All right. Y'all, her sister and niece just died 2 months ago in an accident. This is her sister's husband. Like, they couldn't have even waited 6 months. I prayed and God answered in more ways than I could have ever imagined. Mr. and Mrs. July 19th. I love you more than life, Mr. Murray. This woman married her sister's husband 2 months after her sister died. Do y'all think that they were having a little something? And that maybe there was a little something that maybe, I hate to say, well, it says it was an accident, but conspiracy mind working. All right. Hi, ladies. Not sure if anyone has had issues with their florists, but I just wanted to point out to the go with your gut when you feel something is wrong. So long story short, I had been working with one florist that I thought I could trust, and she could help make my visions a reality. However, on the contrary, she actually just didn't want to put in the time or effort to work with me. Don't like where this is going. And I gave her the ultimatum. Okay. That if she isn't going to do what she promises or work with me, I'm just going to go with someone else. I mean, that's your prerogative. You can always go with someone else. Yeah. Which, of course, she easily said, see ya. Like, I'm not going to waste my time with someone who clearly doesn't care about my feelings or my wedding day, you know. People are so rude and inconsiderate just to make a quick buck. So really, just really unfortunate. Okay, I'm not sure if this lady's and I don't know if this lady's entitled or not, but it sure sounds like she's entitled. Thankfully, I knew someone offhand who I could trust with confidence and wholeheartedly. Okay, so Connie here. I have 2 events. So I'm guessing the florist is the one, or the florist is in gray. So she's Connie. Okay, so the florist is Connie. I have 2 events this weekend, so probably not possible. I'm so sorry. I actually have a surgery next week, so depending on recovery From that will determine ability to make a sample. You could take your computer, blow up a picture, and take to venue to get an idea. Okay, I mean, that sounds perfectly reasonable. I mean, it depends on how early you'd actually been talking to this lady. I mean, it doesn't sound like you were talking to her like super early about like doing anything for you. All right, so then whoever posted this says, gotcha, okay, your recovery won't interfere with my wedding timeline, right? What? I'm getting married in less than 8 weeks. An emergency on your part does not constitute an emergency on mine. I'm sorry. If you cannot guarantee that I will have a beautiful wedding and decor I'm designing with the timeline at hand, I'm afraid I will have to find someone else on short notice and would like to be refunded the $500 deposit. So Connie says, after careful consideration of your response and meeting with my staff, we would recommend you find another florist. Thank you. And then she refunded her. Yeah, no. No. My health comes first. I'm sorry. No. I wouldn't have worked with you either. And no, you definitely sound entitled. All right. And this is the last one. Invited to my niece's wedding under false pretenses. Drove over 600 miles. That is a long way. To attend my niece's rehearsal dinner, wedding, and reception. Thought it odd that I was invited to the rehearsal and dinner, and then I found out why. Was told by my sister, the mother of the bride, someone has to drive Mom the approximate 70 miles from her place to the rehearsal and back. I ignored the warning signs. Never do that. Never ignore the warning signs. Like, if it sounds a little fishy, it probably is. Of course, Mom will only ride in her vehicle. Whatever, no worries and no issues. So Friday. That was on Friday. Now comes Saturday, the wedding day. Mom is supposed to ride with my other sister and her husband. Okay, no issues. I'm driving by myself in my vehicle to the wedding, then staying at a relative's close by, or at least I thought I was. I get a phone call that my sister and her husband, who were going to give my mom a ride, had to take off early. Did they give you a reason why? And Mom didn't want to leave early. So that's the reason why Mom didn't want to leave. That left me to drive Mom, and of course Mom will only ride in her vehicle. No problem. I was assured my sister would drive my mom back. A ride back to my car was set up for Sunday morning. Wedding goes off without a hitch. Fantastic. 10 minutes into the reception, I order a Moscow Mule. Mom absolutely blows up and gets in my face. You will not consume any alcohol, period. You are not drinking before driving me back home. You are here for one reason and one reason only, to drive me back home. I'm then confronted by the rest of my family that I should not be drinking before driving Mom home. The third song starts to play. Mom announces that she's ready to leave. I look at my sister and brother-in-law. They tell me that they're having a good time and to just take Mom home as I'm the oldest and don't really need to stay for the reception. I knew I'd been played. 600 miles for this crap? At that point, I did indeed leave with no goodbyes. And not a word to my mother on the way back. I got her home, parked her car, got in my car, and left. Have not answered or returned calls from any of my family since, and have no intentions of doing so. And you shouldn't. Again, take this from another one of my videos that I said. Again, I'm a huge proponent for forgiveness. I really am. But in some cases, you do need some time to cool off and have some time to just really to stew. You have to stew sometimes, and you have a right to be angry. You definitely have a right to be angry at your family for doing this to you. I'm sorry, my allergies are really are really bothering me. But again, they are your family. In the end, they are your family. And I mean, to me, family is extremely important. I know not everybody thinks that, but that's why I say forgiveness is extremely important. But you know, you may not think that, but I think that. But you know, no, this is ridiculous. They should not have done that to you, and I'm so sorry that happened to you. But yeah, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. If you liked my content, please consider subscribing. Have a good day.